Hello and welcome to day 4 of the Simply Mindful mini class, where we are talking about creating your meditation habit and all about the benefits of meditation and why it's worth daily effort so that you can have incredible improvements in your life, your health, your work, your relationships, and your overall happiness and fulfillment. So today is one of my favorite topics when I'm thinking about meditation is the impacts that it has on the brain. So let's get started, I guess. But first, if you're just tuning in and haven't met me before, I'm Sarah Francescuti. I'm an executive mindfulness leadership and business strategy coach. And I teach about quite a few things business related, especially the mindset for leaders. And meditation is a key component of my signature strategy and system for my coaching programs, which is based on taking time to exhale so that you have enough energy to thrive in all areas of your life. And meditation is one of these tools that you can use to really help you get to peak performance. And so, like athletes that train their bodies for high performance, we as leaders use our brains all the time. And so we need to make sure that they're performing strongly as well. So I think of it like training for a brain marathon. As leaders, we need to make strong, clear, decisive decisions on a regular basis, deal with conflict or challenge at work. We deal with interpersonal relationships, either with our staff or with stakeholders and colleagues. And basically, it's all based on relationships and clear thinking. And all of these things can come from an increased mindfulness or a meditation practice. So that's why I'm excited to really share this with you all today. The impacts that we can have on your brain deliberately by taking time to work it out, I guess, basically, if you want to put it that way. So a few years back, there was a big discovery when some studies were done on Tibetan monks and their brains. And at the time, it was believed that brains would basically get weaker and less strong and degrade over time, that any connections that we had when the brain was young would actually slowly get less functional over time with age. And what was discovered in this study, and it's now quite popular, so you may have heard this before, but the Tibetan monks, their brains were stronger and had more connections than brains in younger people that hadn't been meditating. So this was a huge change to how neuroscience looked at the brain across the board. And so they ended up calling it neuroplasticity, where the idea is that you can actually make new connections and new pathways in your brain through deliberate activity, or sometimes the brain does it on its own because it's an amazing machine. So the fact that we can now see how this works is really neat. So learning and meditation and other things can really help your brain grow stronger. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the brain waves and how the brain waves and the stages change as you go through a meditation, so you can understand sort of why things shift and why the sensations and the experiences that you have are different, and also so you can deliberately change gears if you want to. So some of the improvements that we've already kind of talked about in the benefits section, but that's really important on the brain skill set, is increased focus and concentration from meditation practice, which is especially helpful for leaders, like I mentioned, as well as improved emotional stability. And this comes from basically the changes in the prefrontal cortex, where your brain actually, that is where it reacts to things. So if you find yourself feeling anxious, or you're easily startled, or you find yourself stressed or really ruminating on things, that's this prefrontal cortex area at the front of your brain, kind of behind the forehead. And what happens through meditation is you actually, instead of growing new connections there, those connections actually soften and relax. And they become, instead of hyper aroused, they become more relaxed, more at peace, more calm. So that you actually develop equanimity. So you're able to actually handle more stress and more pressure than you would if you hadn't been meditating. This is huge when you think about dealing with stressful situations and running a brain marathon in your work role. Because if you can handle things that are challenging with more calm and clarity, you're going to make better decisions, you're going to have better relationships, you're going to be happier overall, and you're going to be less burnt out at the end of the day. So creating time for mental fitness and really improving your abilities within your brain through 10 minutes a day of meditation or more, then can really have a life-changing impact on your brain physically. It actually changes how it functions. So I find this completely fascinating. So as well as part of what can come from how your brain functions differently is improved creativity and ability for strategic thinking. And that comes from, again, that clarity that you can create. And it also more connections in the creative areas are grown as well. Additionally, more happiness and fulfillment can come, again, through the calmness and less reactivity, so that you're able to be more present and happier overall. And the brain ages slower when you meditate. So this is a huge thing. You know, there's so many different things that happen as we get older. And if you want to keep a more fit, healthy, and vibrant brain, then meditating will actually make a difference for you. So there's tons of science out there about all of this stuff, but I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of the changes that can happen in your brain itself, and how this idea of looking at it almost like a mental fitness workout routine for your brain can really have a difference in your life. And then the fun part, this is what I find really kind of neat, is the different waves and brainwave states that your brain goes through. And this can happen, some of it on its own and some of it through meditation. So you don't have to remember the names, but just what I encourage you to think about is just the different phases and what the experience is like here. So you can take that away with you today. So the gamma state is what we're like when we are hyperactive, maybe overstimulated, maybe super aware of what's going on, and you're in an active learning state. So if you've ever maybe moved cities before, or gone somewhere you've never been, and you're really paying attention to where the streets are, what the street names are, where there's intersections and walkways and all of that kind of thing, you're really quite sharp and aware at that. Then when you think about when you've been somewhere and you drive there regularly, then you aren't really in that same state of drinking it all in that first part of when it's new, so then that becomes more of a routine. You're not really in that hyper aroused state anymore. You're now in sort of a normal thinking mind. So the beta state is when you're working, when you're using your thinking mind, when you're in that logical thinking space. So your awareness now is not outside of you, or in this learning state where you're really pulling a lot of information in. You're actually now chewing on it in your brain. This is where your awareness kind of actually feels like it's in your head and you're in your thoughts quite a bit. Then the alpha state is a little bit of a different state. So this is more of a calm, grounded, peaceful, out of your thinking mind, more in a present state sort of mind. So if you've ever been out walking in nature and found yourself feeling relaxed and calm and just really at ease, you actually change your brainwave state when you walk in nature, in a forest perhaps. And that brings you into this alpha state. So it's kind of a meditative state, but not really. You can be this in just your conscious state when you're walking around, like I said, in a forest or out in nature somewhere. Then theta state is more of a meditative type of brain waves. So this is where your verbal and your thinking mind that we talked about in the beta state actually transitions more into a visual, intuitive, meditative sort of process internally. your brain has a greater capacity for wholeness. You actually start working with both the left and the right sides of the brain simultaneously. And you actually can see in some meditation where the corpus callosum, the part that goes down between the middle between both the left and the right hand sides, actually turns on, and all of the brain starts working together, which is really neat. This then leads towards increased creativity and that strategic thinking ability, like I was talking about, and provides a greater ability for complicated problem solving and visualization. So visualization doesn't have to come in colors or pictures or images, but it can be that, or it can be more of a conceptually visualizing something. And this comes when you meditate. And then a deeper state, even still than that, is where it's a kind of like a deep, dreamless sleeping state where there's awareness, but there's no dreaming. And the studies have shown that Tibetan monks can reach this state when they're alert and awake because they've trained their brains to be that all the time. Most times, this is where, when you're meditating, you actually may feel like you've fallen asleep, but you're in a different brainwave state. Sometimes it is sleep too, but it kind of depends. But this, if you feel like you're sleeping but you're kind of awake, that's what this state is all about. So I wanted to share this all with you just so you understand how the brain changes, but also to recognize that you can change it yourself deliberately. So if you're finding that you're hyper aroused in this gamma state or beta state of thinking, and you want to get more into that calm creative state, then use a few minutes of meditation or deep breathing to calm the body and bring it down. On the opposite direction, if you wanted to actually get more thinking, then you may want to actually become more physically active and more aware and more external. So just by understanding the differences here, you can actually deliberately use tools and techniques with yourself to work with your brain as a tool by putting it in different stages or different gears, basically, if you want, to help you do things that you want to be doing. So that's all that I want to talk to you about with the brain today, was just to give you an understanding a little bit more of what's going on behind the scenes, if you want to call it that, so that you know how you can work out your brain for your benefit, and how you can change gears if you want to. And also so you understand what's happening when you're meditating, that it's not quite as mysterious. I mean, I've had some clients want it to stay mysterious so that it's a process of discovery for them. For me, I wanted to know why things were happening and why I was experiencing what I was. And so to understand more about what was happening scientifically, I found was quite interesting. So your homework assignment today, if you'd like to bring the conversation into our Facebook group, I'd love to chat about what you think about this brain fitness idea, if there's areas that you would like to improve your abilities within your brain and your mind, and let's just continue the conversation about meditation there. So if you're having any challenges or have any questions, please pop on and let me know. And then tomorrow we will be finishing our mini class with our 5th day, which I'll be talking to you about things beyond meditation and beyond mindfulness, and more into that complete exhale stage in my coaching program, like I was sharing with you about. So thanks again for tuning in today to day 4, where we talked about training your brain. And again, thanks to you for taking the time out for yourself to learn something new, to hopefully become inspired and motivated to work on your own meditation practice so that you can gain all these benefits in your health, in your wellness, in your work, and in your brain, so that you can live longer, be happier, and have a clearer, more creative and joyful mind and life experience. So thank you all. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.